Hello everyone. Myself Sunil Dongre. I am currently working with the Cipla Pharmaceuticals in the novel drug delivery systems, and I'll be hosting today's webinar on the regulatory aspects of medical devices. So we'll start now. So here is a list of the table of content which we're going to discuss here today. Firstly, the definition and the applications, then the international and the national status of the medical devices, the growth factors driving the medical devices demand in the India, the national medical devices policy, which is recently launched in 2023, the various government initiatives to boost the Indian medical device industries, the basic terminologies related with the medical devices, along with the history of medical devices regulations, the regulatory bodies of various countries and their applicable regulations for the same, the regulatory approval pathways for the US, Europe, and the India, the medical devices design and development process, and the medical devices regulations like 2017. Firstly, our webinar is basically mostly related on the medical devices. So first we'll understand what is the medical devices. The medical devices, it could be any instrument, apparatus, machines, implants, or any other similar articles, which we can use for the diagnosis, treatment, and the prevention of diseases in humans or also in the animals. It could be used with the intent to affect the structure or any function of the body without altering any the basics functionalities of the structure of a body without any chemical reaction. It could be used in various medical settings such as hospitals, clinics, and homes to treat wide range of medical conditions. The next slide is about the applications. As we all of know, the medical devices have varying nature of applications with respect to their sectors. The firstly, the diagnostic devices, which include basically the X-rays, CT scans, MRI, ultrasound, etc. Then comes the category of therapeutic devices, which includes the pacemaker, insulin pumps, dialysis machines, ventilators, etc. The next category is the surgical devices. It includes basically all the equipments or the medical instrument or the devices which we use during the surgery purposes. Next category is the monitoring devices. It could be simply your smartwatch or a blood pressure monitor, pulse oximeter, ECG, or EEG. The next category is implantable devices. Implantable devices means the medical device which can be implanted in your body or on the body to assist the therapeutic or the diagnostic purposes, like the hip replacement, breast implants, and the heart walls. Along with that, there are many upcoming categories or uses of medical devices has been marketed nowadays, like the assistive devices, rehabilitation devices, and the respiratory devices. The next slide is about the international status of medical device industries. The global medical device market is grown from 434 billion US dollar in 2021 up to 562 billion in 2022. The further growth of the medical devices industry globally is expected to grow about 6.2% CAGR. The CAGR is basically termed used for the compound annual growth rate, which depicts about the how the financially market is growing. During the period of 2023 to 2031, the market has grown with the CAGR of 6.2%. The question arising in our mind will be what will causing this rapid growth of the medical devices in industry. The simple answer to that is the aged population, the rising health related issues, digitalization of the medical device industry, which also assisted with the advancement of recent technologies like 3D printing, more and more focus and the spending on the R&D activities, etc. Along with the expenditure from the user side on the treatment options. In addition to that, the largest advancement with respect to technology is synergistically boosting the medical device market globally. Here is a pie graph showing the global status of medical device industry. As we can say, the USA is major contributor of the global medical device industries, which is nearly contributing 45%. It is about half of the global medical device industries. The Western Europe is contributing about 24%, and the Asia Pacific contributing about 24%, and the Eastern Europe is contributing 4%, and the Middle East and Africa is merely contributing 3%. Here is a another graph showing the global medical device technologies market expected to reach up to $708 billion by 2029. It has been classified as per the respective regions in which the shares marketed has been showing the growth. As you can see, here is a list of the North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, South Africa, and the Middle East and Africa countries. The next slide is about the top 10 medical devices companies in the world who are currently controlling the global medical device market. Firstly, the Medtronics, Abbott, then the Johnson and Johnson, BD Pharma, Siemens Health Thinners, Francis Medical Care, Philips, etc. I will come to the national status of the medical device industry in India. The Indian medical device market is currently the fourth largest market in the Asia, uh, with more than 700 medical device manufacturers contributing to the Indian medical device industry, which makes the India about top 20% of the global medical device manufacturer. But the lacking point of Indian medical device manufacturers are the medical devices industry in India is highly fragmented. There are no basically the large scale manufacturer available currently to compete with the various multinational companies with respect to the manufacturing, with respect to operation, with respect to the and import purposes. So, to cure or to solve that problem, the government of Indian government is launching various initiatives to boost the Indian medical devices industries, like the profit link incentive scheme, which is launched in 2022 for the medical device industry, which aims to boost the domestic manufacturing and attract the foreign investment. The government has also announced the various measures to promote the ease of doing business, such as reducing regulatory hurdles and the streamlining the approval processes for the medical devices. Here is the list. Here is another graph showing the imports and domestic production of the Indian medical devices industry. As we can see here, there are more than 72% of the medical devices currently used in India are imported from other countries, like from Germany, China, US, UK, Japan, and others. And only 28% of that has been domestically manufactured in India. This shows that how the India is reliable on foreign powers or the foreign device manufacturer for its own need. Here is the list of the growth factor driving the medical devices demand in India. The growing population. In 2021, the Indian population has reached about 140 crores, which is growing at a rate of 0.8% per year. The increase in population means will be a health related issues, increase in health related issues, increase in various needs of the population to maintain their quality of life. And here comes the main role of pharmaceuticals and the medical devices industries, which is increasing the demand or the need of the medical devices industry in India itself. The aging population is the next factor contributing to the medical device demand in India. The share of aged population that is more than 65 years was 5.3% and expected to increase about 12% of the total population in India by the end of 2023. The aged population is equal to the more disease, more complications, more expenditure on the health, which has to be made by the Indian domestic manufacturer of the medical devices. The next point is increasing disease burden of the chronic diseases. The non-communicable diseases like cardiovascular diseases, cancer, diabetes, and other are expected to comprise more than 75% of the India's disease burden by 2025, which is more than 45%, which was in 2010. See, the non-communicable diseases like the cardiovascular diseases or the cancer, diabetes, they all need assistance with respect to medical devices when they need to be cured, considering the patient's quality of life. The next point is increasing health insurance penetration. The Indian health insurance market is expected to reach close to 20 billion US dollar in the financial year 2025. The better insurance scheme provided by the government institutions or the private institutions are basically promoting patients or the population of the India to opt for better treatment options by various multinational companies which are providing the better medical devices, better assistance, and better compliance. The next point is growing medical tourism. The India has been increasingly attracting the medical tourists from across the globe, with SARC countries contributing to maximum inflow of the financial help. The medical value travel market in India is expected to grow at a CAGR of more than 30% from US $2.8 billion to $17.2 billion in 2023. The demand for the healthcare infrastructure. Currently, there are only 1.1 beds are available per 1,000 people of Indian population. As per the WHO, has to be a 3.5 beds per 1,000 people to meet the need of any population. But India is currently lacking in even providing the bed itself. But the Indian government is launching various initiatives, various schemes, various promotions to boost that medical devices industry or the hospitals. The boost in medical devices industry or any related aspects, like it could be a pharmaceutical, it could be a hospital, all of them are related. Even increase in or boost in any of them will eventually result into the boost of medical devices industry. The government has announced a plan in 2015 to have medical colleges in every district. Additionally, 5 new AIMS have been proposed to set up in Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Himachal Pradesh, and Assam. This is significantly bound to increase the demand for medical devices, considering the more than 30% of the total project cost is constituted by only medical devices. The quality and accreditation of hospitals as per the international standards. The government is focusing on developing or manufacturing the medical devices as per the international standards to ensure their safety and the quality. The National Medical Device Policy 2023. This policy has been recently launched in the month of August with the aim to reduce the India's imports reliance, establish India as a global manufacturing hub for the medical devices, acquire 20 to 12% share in the global market for the medical devices market over the next 25 years, to account for the domestic manufacture of sophisticated and high value and high end medical devices like MRI, CT scans, heart walls, breast and hip implants, etc. The policy lays down a set of missions which it aims to achieve in order to facilitate the growth of medical devices sector. These goals are proposed to accomplish by focusing on the following core areas. Firstly, the regulatory streamlining. For any approval of medical devices in India, it has to undergo a streamlined or stringent process of regulatory authorities. uh, Currently, the licensing framework for the medical device approval, it has to undergone by various legislations, guidelines, and policies, which mainly included the Medical Devices Rule 2017, Drug and Cosmetic Act 1940, governed by various regulators like CDSCO, which stands for the Central Drug Standard and Control Organization, the NPPA, National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, which decided the price of pharmaceuticals and the medical device product, the SLA, which stands for the State Licensing Authority, and the Central Licensing Authority, which grants the permission to manufacture to import the medical devices in central or states. Along with that, the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, which controls the radiation emitting medical devices like CT scans, MRI machines, ultrasound, etc. All of them have various regulatory process and the various regulations forms which has to be submitted by the manufacturer or importer to get approval for various purposes. The medical devices policy 2023 is focusing on a single application for all of them. To address this issue, the policy alludes to the creation of single window clearance system for licensing of medical devices to minimize the duplication of efforts and compliance burdens. Additionally, the policy also refers to the adoption of international nomenclature of medical devices, expanding the role of BIS standards to achieve international standards to showcase their safety and quality. The next aim enforced by the Medical Device Policy 2023 is enabling this infrastructure. This policy seeks to expand the presence of medical devices park near the economic zone to enhance their connectivity and the infrastructural capabilities. The establishment of various testing center, laboratory facilities, warehousing, and manufacturing units is expected to reduce the manufacturing cost, improve the quality, affordability, accessibility of the medical device domestically. The next point, which aims by the Medical Device Policy 2023, is the facilitating the R&D. The R&D is mainly contributing factor in any type of industry, whether it could be a pharmaceutical or the medical devices. The government is thinking to facilitate the R&D of medical devices in India and innovation in pharma medtech sector in India through various inter-ally industry academic collaborations and various funding or initiatives. The next point is attracting the investment. The government is planning to encourage the private investment fund as well as public-private in partnerships to achieve its objective of boosting the Indian medical device industry through various active outreach engagement, such as investing VCs to screen startups to incubate the human resource development. Any device industry for its boosting needs the person or the technicians who need to handle it effectively. So, thus, this policy is focusing on measures to ensure a steady supply of skilled workforce across the innovation value chain, like health expert, technician, scientist, regulator, etc. This includes the skilling, upskilling, reskilling of the professional, as well as certification of professionals in the medical device sectors. The next point is the brand positioning and awareness. A significant portion of the Indian country's population is remains unaware about the development and the standard for the medical devices and the medical electronics in India. To address this issue, the policy is mainly focused on initiating the studies and projects to learn from best global practices of manufacturing and skilling system to promote awareness of medical devices safety through outreach with public and promote more forums to bring together various stakeholders for sharing knowledge and building stronger networks for the medical devices professionals. The various government initiatives to boost Indian medical device industries include the Metrovigilance Program of India, which basically like the Pharmacovigilance Program of India, which report or collect the ADR, that is the adverse drug reaction or the adverse drug event associated with the medical devices. It is launched on the 6th July 2015 to monitor the safety of medical devices in the country. The Schedule M3rd. In the December 2015, the Ministry of Health dealing the Schedule M3rd of the Drug and Cosmetic Rules 1945. This provide relief to the medical device manufacturer from the stringent process of pharmaceuticals regulators. Firstly, before that delinquent, the medical devices manufacturer also has to undergo same process as the pharmaceuticals products were undergoing. This is more stringent process. That's why many pharmaceutical or medical device manufacturer are not showing interest in manufacturing the medical devices. But while delinking, when government delinking this procedure of medical devices to undergo the pharmaceutical stringency, then the many manufacturers are showing interest to manufacture medical devices in India. The system of third-party auditing and certification of medical devices manufactured in India are proposed as a part of this revision. The Drug and Cosmetic Bill 2015. This proposed the establishment of various regulatory bodies associated with the CDSCO, such as Ethics Committee, Medical Devices Technically Advisory Board, and the Consultative Committee. Along with that, there are various rules pertaining to conducting clinical trials of medical devices has been developed to safeguard the rights, safety, and well-being of the all trial participants. The strict legal actions, punishment, penalties have been decided for conducting the trials of clinical purposes without permissions or following the protocol of manufacturing or sale of spurious, adulterated, misbranded medical devices. The basic terminologies associated with the medical devices are the predicate devices. Basically, predicate devices, it is a like a generic form of the pharmaceutical. The predicate devices, the term used when the same type or same purpose medical devices has been already approved by that specific regulatory body in the same country. In that case, the predicate devices or the second launch devices which has the same function and the same application does not have to undergo the stringency of medical devices that has to be followed when there is only one manufacturer on the only one type of medical devices has been marketed. A predicate device refers to a legally marketed device that is already approved by the US FDA and serve as a benchmark for comparison for the regulatory review of a new medical devices under the 510K pre-market notification process. The 510K applicant must demonstrate that the new device is substantially equivalent to the predicate device in terms of the intended use, the technological characteristics, safety, and effectiveness. The use of predicate device can streamline the regulatory process by providing a benchmark for comparison, but it is important to note that the 510K clearance does not indicate that new device is necessarily safe and effective. The substantial equivalence. The substantial equivalence refers to the comparison of new medical device without a legally marketed device that is already in commercial distribution in the same country. The new device must demonstrate that it has the same intended use, technological characteristics, performance as a legally marketed device. That is the substantially equivalent to already marketed device. The history of medical device regulations. In 1906, the first Medical Device Regulatory Act has been passed, named as Pure Food and Drug Cosmetic Act, which established the precursor for today's FDA, that is the Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act of the USA. In 1938, the Federal Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act (FDC) Act has been passed. In 1944, subsequently, the Public Health and Service Act has been passed. In 1968, the Radiation Control for Health and Safety Act has been passed, which intend to minimize the exposure of electronic product radiation and intense magnetic field to the user or to the patient. It created the performance standard for radiation emitting products such as the diagnostic X-ray machines, MRI, microwave, ultrasound, etc. In 1970, President Nixon established a Cooper Committee in the USA, which is chaired by the Theodore Cooper. He recommended that there has to be a new legislation specifically targeted to the medical devices industry because the present present regulations are not able to solve the current medical device needs. He also introduced the concept of risk-based classification of medical devices. The regulatory bodies and applicable regulations for the medical devices. In USA, the regulatory bodies controlling the medical device industry is the Center for Devices and the Radiological Health, and the applicable regulations are 21 CFR Part 862 to 892. For the European nation, the regulatory bodies are the European Union Medicine Agency and the European Commissions and the National Constituting Agency, and the applicable regulations for the European region are the 2017 Rules of 745 and the In Vitro Diagnostic Regulations IVDR EU of 2017/746. In India, the regulatory body controlling the medical device market is the CDSCO. It is the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, and the applicable regulations for the same are the Drug and Cosmetic Act 1940 and the Medical Devices Rules 2017. In Canada, the regulatory body is Health Canada, and the applicable regulations are Medical Device Regulations SOR from 98 to 282. Here is a image showing the medical device classification as per the US FDA, EU, WHO, and CDSCO. It is a risk-based classification of the medical devices. As we can see, the class 1 of US-based medical device has a low risk, class 2 has more risk, and class 3 has more higher risk. Same followed by the Canada and the Europe. This is the medical device classification as per the US FDA. There are basically 3 classes of medical devices in USA. The risk on this classification has been made on basis of risk associated with them. The class 1 medical devices has low risk, class 2 medical devices have medium risk, and the class 3 has highest possible risk to the user. This is the regulatory approval path for the USA. For the class 1 medical devices, no FDA approval is needed. Only the registration of the FDA website prior 30 to 90 days has been needed. Along with that, the 510K notification, that is the predicate device notification, has been exempted because there is no risk associated with class 1 medical devices, which could seriously affect the health of users or the quality of life of user. That's why the 510K requirement has been exempted for the class 1 medical devices. For the class 2 medical devices, the FDA clearance is required. And the user or the manufacturer also has to undergo through 510K pre-market notification to FDA, in which he has to prove that the medical devices he has been manufactured has predicate device already available in the market to prove its safety and effectiveness. The class 2 medical devices required 1 to 9 months of approval period. Some of the medical devices of class 2 are exempted for 510K notification and clinical trial requirement based on they are therapeutically equivalent to a already pre-marketed medical devices in the country. Class 3 medical devices require the FDA approval. The pre-market it has to undergo through pre-market approval process and the clinical trials ranging from 1 to 3 years, and the pre-market approval process takes about 9 to 36 months. The regulatory approval pathway for the US. For the class 1 medical devices, the Registration and Medical Device Act falls under the Part 807 of the 21 CFR. The medical device listing on government portal falls under the 807 part of the 21 CFR. The labeling requirement falls under the 801 of 21 CFR. Medical device ADR reporting, which falls under the 803 part of 21 CFR. The GMP requirement, which falls under the 803 part of the 21 CFR. For class 2 medical devices, the pre-market notification, that is the 807E part of 807E of 21 CFR, has to prove the device is equivalent to a legally marketed device that is not require approval. Then the device is passed and marketed for the US, considering that is safe and effective. For the class 3 medical devices, the pre-market approval process has been needed, which is enlisted in the 8114 part of the 21 CFR. For the high-risk device, that is support human health, for which no predicate device has been already marketed in the country, the pre-market approval application has to be submitted along with the data and the information proving it safe and effective. Along with that, investigational device exempted for the clinical trial under the rule 812 of the 21 CFR. The device has to be met the quality system regulations as per 820. The labeling requirement has to be met as per the 801 of the 21 CFR. The medical device ADR reporting has to be met as per 803. There is also a de novo classification system implemented in the US, which basically told us that the new low moderate risk devices for which no predicate device has been available in the country, by simply providing the de novo request about along with the data proving it safe and effective, the manufacturer can market the device. Medical device regulation in the Europe. In Europe, the medical devices are regulated by the Medical Device Regulatory Authority and the In Vitro Diagnostic Regulations, IVDR. These regulations provide a harmonized regulatory framework for the approval and marketing of medical devices and in vitro diagnostics throughout the European Union. The regulatory approval pathway for the Europe. The medical devices for the manufacturer which intend to market their medical devices in Europe has to undergo through this approval process, which includes the various rules and regulations like medical device rules of the European Union, which is published in 2017 /745, for the in vitro diagnostic rule of European Union, which is published in 217 /746. Along with that, the manufacturer also has to undergo through confirmatory assessment by the third party and the technical document compliance. The quality management strategy ISO 13485 has to be followed by the manufacturing organization. Post-market clinical evaluation has also been performed on the same devices by the manufacturer and the regulatory authorities. This is the medical device classification as per the WHO. The medical device classified as per WHO in the 4 classes, the class 1, class 2, class 3, and class 4, on the basis of their risk associated with them and the various categories of devices. Like in class 1 devices, they're mainly a stethoscope, bandages, and examination gloves. For class 2 medical devices, which are moderate risk and include the devices such as X-ray machines, infusion pumps, diagnostic, and ultrasound machines. In class 3 devices, include the high risk and include the devices such as the pacemaker, artificial heart wall, and implantable defibrillators. Class 4 medical devices include the very high risk and include devices such as the neurostimulators, blood oxygenators, and the implantable devices. The CDSCO classified the medical devices in India as per this: the class A, class B, class C, and class D devices. The class A basically represent the low risk devices. Class B represent the low and moderate risk devices. Class 3 represent the moderate to high risk devices, and the class D represent the high risk devices. The next slide is about the medical device design and the development steps. This is the steps which has to be followed by the medical device manufacturer before undergoing any manufacturing process. Firstly, the planning, then the design and input, output, a review of the design verification, design validation, implementing the manufacturing control, then the packaging, labeling, instruction to use has been provided on the packaging, and then comes the post-marketing surveillance. The risk management associated with the medical devices has to be followed by the manufacturer in the following way. Risk management is an integral part of the design process. It should be ongoing throughout the development of the medical devices, conducted in all phases of the design process from start to end, designated to identify, assess, control the risk associated with the medical devices. The key elements of the risk management program are hazard identification, risk assessment, risk controls, and the risk communication. The risk identified has to be communicated through all the controller, which by which this we can control or at least implement a control strategies to control the seriousness or the seriousness of those risks. Is the Medical Devices Regulations Act 2017. Uh, this is the act launched by the Indian Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in 2017 to support the medical device regulations. Under this act, the provision, this is provisions of this act has been uh, added as an amendment under the Drug and Cosmetic Act of 1940, which is published on 31st of January 2017. This basically provides regulatory authority to CDSCO to control the import, manufacture, clinically investigate, sell and distribution of medical devices in India. The medical devices in India are regulated as both drugs and devices as per the Drug and Cosmetic Act 1940, with the intended to provide a robust regulatory framework for medical devices in India. The CDSCO has recommended the manufacturer, importer, distributor to comply with the Medical Device Rule 2017, even when they are regulated under the Drug and Cosmetic Act 1940. It gives CDSCO to authority to inspect manufacturing site and take legal actions against the violations. It also provides a two-tier registration system for the medical devices in state and in central. This is the website provided by the Central CDSCO for the filing an application or approval to manufacture, to import, to export medical devices. The Medical Devices Rules of 2017 has mainly combines the Rule 96 rules associated with the various processes of medical devices, 12 chapters, 8 schedules, and 40 forms. These forms are basically related to the import-export purposes of the medical devices. The 12 chapters included in the Medical Device Rule 2017 includes firstly the title, application, definition of various types of medical devices, the classification of medical devices, various authorities, officers, and bodies like licensing authorities, accreditation authorities, notified body of controlling and the controlling officers. Fourth chapter include the manufacturer, which controls the sale or distribution. Fifth is about the import of medical devices. Sixth is about the labeling of medical devices. Next is about the clinical investigation, import, duties of medical device testing officer, registration of laboratory to carry out test or evaluation, sales of medical device, and miscellaneous information, which mainly include the export, application rejected, and the mode of fee payment, and the amount of fee has to be paid per application. This is the risk-based classification of medical devices in India. Firstly, the class A, class B, class C, and class D. The class A devices are basically low risk devices. The class B devices are low to moderate risk devices. And the class C devices are moderate to high risk devices. And class D devices are high risk devices. This risk is basically provided here with respect to life of patient on which it has to be used. This is regulatory authorities as per the Medical Device Rule 2017. The Class A and Class B medical devices, the import of the Class A and Class B medical devices has been controlled by the CDSCO, that is the Central Licensing Authority, but the manufacturer of Class A and Class B devices, which falls under the low risk devices, controlled by the state licensing authorities. But in case of Class 3 and Class D devices, both the import and manufacture controlled by the Central Licensing Authority, that is the CDSCO. Thank you. If anyone has any question, they can ask.
Hello. Hello, Sunil.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm having a query. Can I?
What?
I'm having a query. Can I ask you?
Okay, sure. Ask.
We are having a CT scan device. That CT scan is like we will do hardware scanning or nmap scanning, right? Or other than this, any kind of rules we need to implement for the CT scan device?
See, CT scan is a high risk associated device, so it falls under the class 3 or class 4 in India at least. So you're asking in India only.
Our product is applicable for all over the world. We are
Okay.
submitting that
But
CT
the
scan. See,
CT,
I'm working for the client. That client is the manufacturer of CT scans. They will sell this to the all over globe.
okay. See, in India at least, the CT scans falls under the class 3 medical devices. That is the moderate to high risk associated device. But in the US and Europe, the medical devices like CT scans falls under the class 4 devices. That is the high risk associated device. So the regulations which has to be applied will be varying with respect to the country that we are applying or the at least manufacturing the device for. The stringency of regulations will be increased in case of other foreign countries except India.
We have any specific regulations documents with respect to different countries?
See, like for CT scan, it is a radiation emitting products. So there are various rules and regulations with considering the amount of radiation they are emitting, the amount of radiation that is penetrated into the patient's body. They also will test the same device for the harm they are causing to the patient's body, and then they evaluate whether the this device is significantly improving or considerable for the patient's health, whether to before approving for manufacturing purposes. On the basis of that evaluation, if the devices get passed, then and then only the device will be approved for the manufacturing in that specific country. uh, there are actually lots of
But
regulations controlling the
but
medical device manufacturers. Ask. Hello.
But if you see that some voice lagging is there, that's why I interfere into between. So, but there was something like this is related to the accuracy and the performance of the system. Under this, it will come, right? It won't come with respect to the security constraints, right?
No, no, no. It also come with the with respect to security concerns also. It firstly they monitor the accuracy, then the effectiveness of the product. Then they will also consider the security of the patient as well, because
Oh,
all
okay,
of
okay.
all
Because
of
of the
them are.
radiation, it may impact the
Yes,
health
yes,
of
yes,
the body, health of the patient, or any part of the body. The radiation may impact because of that reason. They will consider it a security wise.
yes.
Do you have any that emitting? What are the radiation levels to consider? We have any specific value, any specific documentation, or only it depends on the customer?
No, actually, for that, we will not be able to find any limits of radiation emission on any online platform. Basically, there are many regulators or the filers of that specific device manufacturers available in India or in other countries also, which basically controls or document all this data before submitting to the regulatory bodies. Actually, that not my department actually.
Okay. Since it is mentioned regulatory aspects of medical devices, I asked this question.
No, actually, regulatory. See, I am from actually pharmaceutical background, which and I have worked with medical device manufacturers and also pharmaceuticals also. But the person who apply for the license or the approval has law backgrounds. They could be a, LLM, BA, LLB.
I understand product security with respect to the legal.
Yes, they basically they all belong to the law background. because there are regulations which we can't understand or can't implement, or we can't use that type of legal language. So
So
there are
then
many.
definitely any product when we are manufacturing, that now data privacy came into the picture, right? DTPR. So that one also need to be considered with respect to the legal, right?
Yes. Have you heard about the patent agent or the trademark agent?
Yes, yes, I know. Patent
Huh.
agent, I know.
The patent agent one will be the one who filing the application for your device manufactured or supplied in any other country.
Okay. So I understand there is a group of people and the regulation should be there. If I'm manufacturing a device and you also manufacturing a similar kind of device, all this should comply with respect to one standard. That is nothing but this patent people will do, right? That's what
Yes,
you're talking.
yes, yes,
A common group of people.
yes.
Thank you, Sunil.
And okay.
Sunil, last time some IoT sessions are completed. If anyone are looking for the in the same group, if anyone are looking for training kind of thing, how can they approach? Any idea for you?
What type of training?
IoT devices and all those things, it is conducted in this group, same group. And
Okay.
I want to know any type of IoT training is conducting on the medical devices or any other devices. I want to know that
Oh,
penetration testing.
okay. Actually, that is all related with the software developer or the IT background people. I am from the pharmaceutical one.
That's fine, no issues. Even pharmaceutical, okay. I understand there should be a pen testing conducted and IoT hardware we need to do it, hacking kind of thing. So because of that, I want to know it is related to the same group, right? So I want to ask.
Yes, yes. There are many people. Actually, most of the group is filled with actually the IT or IoT security personnel you are talking about. But a few of them are from pharmaceutical background. Few of them from biomedical engineer. Few of them are electronics engineer. So all of them have their various roles and their limitations.
Can you suggest me whom I can connect with to get this detailed information about myself
Uh,
to understand?
Actually, in chat box, I am mentioning my WhatsApp number. If you will text me now, I have various persons of same background. I can connect you with them.
Thank you. Let me take it. Or else we